Captain Lee stood at the large window of the observation deck. He watched as Earth grew smaller, turning into a tiny blue dot in the black space. His ship, the UES Pathfinder, was leading a huge group of ships. They were heading to places no human had been before, past the planet Neptune. 300 ships followed the Pathfinder. More than 15,000 people were on this mission. It was the biggest space journey humans had ever tried. Officer Kim walked up to Captain Lee. "Captain, we've reached the planned spot," she said. Lee nodded. "Good. Get ready for the jump." All the ships moved into their correct positions. They were about to test new engines that could travel faster than light. These FTL drives had never been used by so many ships at once. Back on Earth, Director Park was in the control room. He checked all the readings one last time. "Everything looks good," he said. "You have permission to proceed." Captain Lee took a deep breath. This was the moment they had trained for years to reach. "Start the countdown," he ordered. Officer Kim's voice was clear over the communication system. "Initiating jump in 3, 2, 1. Bright light surrounded all the ships. It was so intense that monitors on Earth showing the fleet went white. Then the screens went black. "Pathfinder, do you copy?" Director Park called. No answer came. "This is Earth Control calling any vessel in the fleet. Please respond." Only silence answered. Minutes passed. Then hours. No signal came from any of the 300 ships. On Earth, panic began to spread. The biggest fleet in human history had disappeared without a trace. "Launch the search vessels immediately," ordered the Earth Defense Commander. Ships raced to the last known location of the fleet. They found nothing, no debris, no radiation, no sign of what happened. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. Search teams traveled farther than ever before, desperately looking for any clue. Families of the missing gathered outside space agency buildings. They held pictures of their loved ones and demanded answers. News reports showed crying children asking when their parents would come home. Scientists argued about what might have happened. Some thought the ships had exploded. Others believed they might have gone to another dimension. A few suggested alien involvement. "The FTL drives must have malfunctioned," said Dr. Jean, who had helped design them. "But there should be some evidence left behind." Search missions continued for 5 years. Ships with better sensors and equipment found nothing new. The mystery only deepened. Family members started fighting among themselves. Some wanted to keep searching. Others thought it was time to accept the truth. "My husband would want us to move forward," said Mrs. Bay, wife of the Pathfinder's chief engineer. "But how can I when we don't know what happened?" 10 years after the disappearance, Admiral Cho stood before the United Earth Senate. The room was packed with government officials and family members of the missing. "We have searched every possible location," Admiral Cho said. His voice was heavy with sadness. "We have used our best technology and our brightest minds. It is time we accept the painful truth. Our friends and family members are gone. Whatever happened out there, we may never know." The Senate voted to officially declare all 15,000 missing persons as dead. It was the largest mass memorial service in human history. A monument was built in the center of New Seoul. It showed a group of ships flying toward a star. The names of every missing person were carved into black stone walls surrounding it. Space exploration didn't stop, but it changed. Ships were required to stay in constant communication with Earth. No vessel could test experimental technology without multiple backup systems. Safety regulations became extremely strict. Humanity continued to reach for the stars, but now there was fear mixed with the excitement. The mystery of the lost fleet haunted every new mission. Some family members never gave up hope. They formed a group called The Waiting and met every year on the anniversary of the disappearance. "Space is vast," they would say. "Our loved ones might still be out there, trying to find their way home." Little did they know how right they were. Director Son looked through his telescope with tired eyes. 45 years had passed since the great loss of the Pathfinder fleet. Song had been just a boy when it happened, but the story of the missing ships had shaped his life and career. "Director, you need to see this," called his assistant June from the monitoring station. Song walked over to the large screen. It showed something moving toward Earth, something that wasn't a comet or asteroid. "What am I looking at?" asked Song. "We don't know," said June. "It's not following normal space travel patterns. And it's not one of ours." The object slowed down as it approached Earth. Most meteors and space debris got faster as they came closer due to gravity. This object was controlling its speed. "It's definitely a ship," said Song. "And definitely not human-made. Earth had never encountered aliens before. There had been signs of simple life on Mars and some moons of Jupiter, but nothing intelligent. Nothing that could build spaceships." "It's sending out signals," said June, her voice shaking slightly. "On all our communication channels. How would they know our frequencies?" Song called Earth Defense Command immediately. Within hours, the strange ship was surrounded by Earth's best military vessels. News of the approaching ship spread quickly around the world. People gathered in public places, looking up at the sky even though the ship was too far to see without equipment. The alien vessel was beautiful in a strange way. It looked like it was made of crystal, with smooth surfaces that reflected light in rainbow patterns. It moved into Earth orbit and stopped. Earth's highest officials decided that Ambassador Tay would make first contact. She was known for her calm approach and quick thinking. Ambassador Tay traveled to the orbital station to meet the visitors. She wore her formal diplomatic uniform but no weapons. She wanted to show peaceful intentions. The aliens agreed to board the human station. When the airlock opened, 3 tall beings stepped through. They had pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly. Their eyes were large and silver. They moved with a grace that made them seem like they were floating. "We welcome you to Earth," said Ambassador Tay. One alien stepped forward. It held up a small device that glowed when it spoke. "We are the Galactic Concord," said the device, translating the aliens' musical sounds into human language. "We represent 7 intelligent species who work together for peace." The alien explained that their civilization had been watching Earth for some time. They had decided to make contact now for a specific reason. "We come seeking alliance," the alien said. "A threat approaches your part of space, the Vector Dominion. They take over worlds and make people into slaves. Your planet is in their path." Ambassador Tay and the aliens talked for hours. They shared information about their worlds and the dangerous Vector. Earth's leaders prepared to make decisions about this new alliance. Suddenly, all the alarms in the station started ringing. Officer Han, who monitored the deep space sensors, looked up from his screen with a pale face. "Director Song. Massive energy readings coming from beyond Pluto." Everyone rushed to the main viewing screen. It showed thousands of ships appearing at the edge of the solar system. Some were huge, bigger than Earth's moon. "Could it be the Vector already?" asked Ambassador Tay. The alien representatives looked just as surprised. "No," one said. "The Vector would not have this many ships. And their ships do not look like these." "They're broadcasting a message," said June, working quickly at her station. It's in English." She pressed a button, and a voice filled the room. The voice sounded human, but with a strange accent. "This is Admiral Park of the Human Diaspora Fleet. We left Earth 45 years ago through what we now know was a wormhole. We have built a new civilization among the stars. We have learned about the Vector threat. After decades across the stars, we have returned to protect our original home." The room fell silent. Director Song felt his heart beating fast in his chest. The lost fleet, the ships everyone had mourned for decades, had somehow survived. Not only survived but thrived and returned with ships bigger than anything humans had ever built. Ambassador Tay was the first to find her voice. "Open a channel," she said. Tell them Earth welcomes its children home." The alien representatives looked at each other with surprise and confusion. The humans in the room had tears in their eyes. After 45 years of believing the explorers were dead, they had returned, with a fleet powerful enough to protect Earth from the coming threat. Admiral Park stepped onto Earth for the first time in her life. She was 50 years old but had never felt real gravity or breathed non-recycled air. She looked up at the blue sky with wonder. "It's so open," she whispered. Earth's Security Council had arranged a meeting in a large room with windows that showed the ocean. 20 of Earth's most important leaders sat at a long table. Across from them sat Admiral Park and 5 other commanders from the return fleet. "We have so many questions," said the council leader. "We thought you all died 45 years ago." Admiral Park nodded. "My father was Engineer Park on the original Pathfinder. He told me stories about the day they disappeared." She touched a small metal pin on her uniform, the original Pathfinder mission badge. "What happened to you?" asked a council member. "The wormhole collapsed behind us," Admiral Park explained. "One moment we were near Neptune, the next we were in the Sagittarius Arm, 23,000 light-years from Earth." The council members looked shocked. That distance would take thousands of years to travel using normal engines. Captain Moon, a tall man with calm eyes, continued the story. "The original crews knew they couldn't get back quickly. They had to survive. They connected ships together and turned them into places to live. They grew food in special rooms. They recycled everything. We have recordings from those early days," said Admiral Park. She touched a small device on the table. A hologram appeared showing tired-looking men and women working to build structures between ships. The date stamp showed it was just 3 months after they disappeared. "Each generation made the ships bigger," continued Captain Moon. "We mined asteroids for materials. We created new technologies. What started as small ships became huge worlds." On screens around the world, people watched in amazement as images of the returned fleet appeared. The ships were enormous, some larger than small countries. The flagship, named New Dawn, was 1,200 kilometers across. Scans showed it contained cities, farms, lakes, and forests. 10 million people live on the New Dawn alone," said Admiral Park. "Our total population across all ships is just over 100 million. All descendants of the original 15,000, asked a council member. Admiral Park nodded. "We're all family, in one way or another." In another part of the meeting room, scientists were talking with the fleet's technical experts. They couldn't believe how advanced the technology had become. "Your energy systems are beyond anything we've imagined," said Earth's chief scientist. "Necessity pushed us forward," explained one of the fleet engineers. "In deep space, with no help coming, you either solve problems or you die." Admiral Park showed more images of life inside the fleet. Children played in parks that looked almost like Earth, except the sky curved upward at the edges. Cities had tall buildings, but they were made of strange materials that seemed to glow slightly. "We developed our own culture, our own way of life," said Admiral Park. "Many of our traditions come from Earth, but we changed them to fit our needs." "What made you come back now?" asked the council leader. Admiral Park's face became serious. 5 years ago, we encountered the Vector Dominion. They destroy planets and take people as slaves. They've already taken over 300 worlds." She showed a map of the galaxy with red dots showing Vector territory. "We tracked their movement and realized they were heading toward this part of space. Toward Earth. We couldn't let them reach our ancestral home," said Captain Moon. "Even though none of us had ever seen it." The council members looked at each other with worry. "The Galactic Concord told us about the Vector, but we didn't know they were so close." "They're still 2 years away," said Admiral Park. "We have time to prepare." Outside the meeting, thousands of people had gathered. Many were families of the original missing crews. They waited to find out if their relatives had survived. An older woman pushed through the crowd. "My name is Sunday. My mother was Dr. Sun on the Pathfinder." "Did she?" A young officer from the fleet checked a tablet. "Dr. Sun lived for 30 more years after the jump. She had 3 children. You have 2 half-brothers and a half-sister." And 7 nieces and nephews. The woman began to cry. All around, similar scenes played out as Earth families learned about relatives they never knew they had. Back in the meeting room, Admiral Park looked out at the ocean. "We've come home," she said quietly. "But we've also brought the stars with us. We're not the same humans who left. We're something new." "What do you call yourselves?" asked a council member. "The diaspora," replied Park. "It means the scattered ones. But we're not scattered anymore. We're here to stand with Earth against what's coming." Dr. Min could not believe her eyes. She stood in a forest inside a spaceship. Tall trees reached up toward a ceiling that looked like a blue sky. Birds flew between branches. A small stream ran beside the path. "This is all inside the New Dawn?" she asked Engineer Hyun, who walked beside her. "Yes," said Hyun. "This forest section is 20 kilometers long. We have many such areas throughout the ship." Dr. Min had been chosen to lead Earth's scientific team studying the Diaspora Fleet's technology. What she saw seemed impossible. The New Dawn wasn't just a ship. It was a world. "How do you keep all this alive in space?" she asked. Engineer Hyun pointed to the walls of the ship. "Our hull isn't just metal. It contains special bacteria that fix damage. Small cracks or holes seal themselves within minutes." He led her to a control room overlooking the forest. "Our gravity systems make sure everything stays in place. The artificial sunlight changes throughout the day, just like on Earth." Dr. Min's team of 50 Earth scientists had been studying the diaspora technology for 3 weeks. They were amazed by what they found. The diaspora ships could pull energy directly from stars without getting too close. They could turn asteroids into useful materials in days instead of years. "I don't understand how humans developed all this without help from other species," said Dr. Min's assistant as they examined a material that was stronger than steel but light as paper. Chief Scientist Du of the Diaspora overheard this comment. "Necessity," he explained. "When survival depends on innovation, progress accelerates. Our ancestors had no choice but to solve these problems or die." The Diaspora began sharing their technology with Earth and their new allies, the Galactic Concord. Special teams worked to adapt the advanced systems for use on Earth. "These solar harvesters could end Earth's energy problems forever," said an excited government official during a demonstration. Not everyone welcomed the changes. Some people on Earth feared the new technology. Others didn't trust the diaspora. "They say they're human, but they've been gone for generations," said one protester on a news program. "How do we know they haven't been changed by living in space?" Meanwhile, danger approached. Vector scout ships were seen at the edge of the solar system. On the command deck of the New Dawn, Admiral Park watched the movement of these enemy ships on a large 3D display. "They're testing our defenses," she said to Captain Moon. "Sending small ships to see how we respond." "How long until they attack in force?" asked Earth's defense minister, who had come aboard for a strategy meeting. "Not long," replied Admiral Park. "The Vector don't like to wait. And they fear what we've become. They've never encountered humans before, and now they find us with this fleet and these technologies." The defense minister looked worried. "Earth isn't ready. We need more time to prepare our forces." "Time is something we might not have," said Captain Moon. While military leaders made plans, other challenges emerged. The diaspora humans had lived differently for generations. They had different customs, different values, and different ways of thinking. An Earth diplomat named Sue visited the New Dawn for cultural talks. She found it hard to understand the diaspora people. "You share resources equally?" "There's no money," she asked a group of diaspora citizens. "In space, hoarding resources means someone else might die," explained one woman. "We learn to share to survive." "And family units with 5 or 6 parents?" asked Sue. "Children are raised by the community," replied a diaspora teacher. "It takes many people to teach a child all they need to know." Sue shook her head. "These ideas won't work on Earth. People won't accept them." Captain Moon overheard this conversation. We are human, he told the skeptical diplomat. But humanity has always adapted to new frontiers. Earth humans adapted to different continents, different climates. We adapted to space. The diplomat still looked doubtful. The differences may be too great. Perhaps, said Captain Moon. But now we face a common enemy. The Vector don't care about our cultural differences. They only see humans to conquer. As if to prove his point, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Captain Moon checked his communication device. 3 more Vector scout ships have entered the system, he said. And these ones are armed. The time for talk was ending. The time for Earth and the diaspora to stand together had come. Whether their differences could be overcome would soon be tested in battle. The attack came during Earth's night. Most people were sleeping when the alarms began. The Vector fleet, 1,000 warships strong, entered the solar system at high speed, bypassing the outer planets. They're moving faster than we expected, said Defense Coordinator G, watching the giant screens in Earth's military headquarters. They must think we're an easy target. What the Vector didn't know was that Earth had been preparing. For 3 months, the diaspora had been teaching Earth and Concord forces how to work together. They had practiced battle plans many times. The diaspora's enormous ships moved into position. From space, they looked like small moons protecting Earth. The largest ship, New Dawn, took the center position. Earth's smaller, faster ships formed the first line of defense. The crystalline ships of the Galactic Concord protected the flanks. On the bridge of the New Dawn, Admiral Park stood calmly. She had faced the Vector before. They always attack the same way, she told her officers. They try to overwhelm with numbers. They don't expect new tactics. The enemy ships came into firing range. They launched the first attack energy weapons that lit up space with red beams. Shields holding, reported Captain Moon. All ships report minimal damage. The Vector pressed forward, moving faster. Their ships formed an arrow shape, aiming at Earth. Admiral Park nodded to her weapons officer. It's time. Activate the spacetime displacement array. The officer pressed a sequence of controls. Throughout the diaspora fleet, huge devices powered up. The largest ships began to glow with blue energy. Space itself seemed to bend around them. Concord Commander Gill, watching from his ship, turned to Earth Admiral Choi. What are they doing? Admiral Choi smiled slightly. Changing the rules. The Vector fleet suddenly broke apart. Ships that had been flying in tight formation were now scattered across millions of kilometers. Some appeared on the far side of the solar system. Others found themselves near the sun, their shields failing in the intense heat. A third group of Vector ships slowed down dramatically. They seemed to be moving in slow motion compared to everything else. Time dilation fields, explained Captain Moon to the amazed Earth officers. Those ships are experiencing time at a different rate than we are. For them, seconds are passing while hours go by for us. The diaspora fleet had changed the very fabric of space and time as a weapon. The Vector had no defense against it. Earth and Concord ships launched their attack on the confused enemy. The battle that the Vector had planned as a quick victory turned into a disaster for them. They're sending surrender signals, reported Communications Officer Sue after just 3 hours of fighting. The Vector command ship, twice the size of Earth's largest vessel but tiny compared to the New Dawn, powered down its weapons. The surrender was complete. 1 week later, representatives from Earth, the diaspora, and the Galactic Concord met on an orbital station to sign a formal alliance. The Vector threat had been contained. Their remaining ships had been sent back to their territory with a warning: Earth and its allies were not to be attacked again. Admiral Park stood by a large window that showed Earth below. The blue oceans and white clouds looked peaceful from space. My grandmother told me stories of Earth, she said quietly to Director Song, who stood beside her. She was born on the original Pathfinder. She never thought our people would see this planet again. Director Song nodded. And we never thought we'd see the stars the way you have. Your people turned a tragedy into something amazing. Later that day, on Earth, a ceremony took place. The old memorial that had mourned the lost fleet was removed. In its place, a new monument was built. It showed two hands reaching for each other, one from Earth, one from the stars. The names remained, but they were no longer a list of the dead. They were now honored as the first explorers of a new age. Children in schools learned the story, how a lost fleet had survived against all odds and returned to save their ancestral home. How humans had adapted to life in the stars and built ships the size of worlds. In orbit above Earth, the massive ships of the diaspora became a common sight. Some of the diaspora chose to live on Earth, experiencing for the first time the feel of wind and rain. Many Earth humans chose to visit or live on the fleet ships, curious about life among the stars. And together, the two branches of humanity looked outward. The wormhole that had taken the original fleet still existed somewhere. There were more stars to explore, more challenges to face. Humanity had been tested and had emerged stronger. No longer confined to one world, they had become a true spacefaring civilization, ready to take their place among the stars.